Hello friends, my name is Eram S. Rao and I work as an associate professor in Delhi University. Today I'm going to speak on the Food Safety Authority of India's initiatives for safe and nutritious food. Now, why the need for safe and nutritious food? This is extremely important for a healthy being, and that is why FSSAI has taken this initiative to have a 360-degree approach and have a nationwide campaign to help people eat safe, healthy, and also very importantly, what should you eat, how much should you eat, so eat right at all places, be it home, school, workplaces, etc. This is because we are facing a huge burden of NCDs in our country. With the rising incidence of all these diet-related disorders like lifestyle disorders, diabetes mellitus, CVDs, etc., there is a dire need to start eating right and eat healthy. In order to promote these particular initiatives, the FSSAI has come up with a number of ways and also resources. The purpose is to actually bring about a social and behavioral change amongst the citizens and bring in the need of food safety, hygiene, and consumption of healthy diets. This should be done as a reflex, not just sitting at home and eating home-cooked food, but also when we're going out to work and we mindlessly eat whatever comes on our plate. It's absolutely important to also instill these right practices very early in our lives, and that is why the initiative targeting for school kids as well. The philosophy is to create informative content and engaging material along with simple messages to all the citizens so that they become aware of what are the right healthy practices they should adopt voluntarily. The SNF resources are extremely interesting and cover a wide range. The first one is targeted to the homemaker. This comes by the name the Pink Book, and this helps you navigate through the selection, procurement, storage, consumption, processing of home-cooked food. The basis is on hygiene practices. The good hygiene practices have to be initiated early in life and have to be practiced everywhere at all times, be it at the time of selecting the food, processing the food, storing the food, or even serving the food. The primary objective over here is to inculcate, as I said, safe eating practices and select the right kind of food. Now, for this, a three-pronged approach has been put forward, in which you have the first one, which talks about the Pink Book, which is basically a resource for all the safe consuming, buying, selecting, eating, processing, and serving practices at home. It also helps, the second approach is to disseminate knowledge of safe and nutritious food through the community outreach. That can be through the NGOs, through the nutrition groups, and also through the RWAs in various societies. It also provides training and capacity building, and that is done through FOSTAC, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in detail. Now, we are also aware of another problem in our country, and which is massive. It's been found that nearly 1/5 of all the common commodities in the country seem to be adulterated. Now, adulteration is something which lowers the quality of the food, and that is why the whole idea of eating safe is actually forfeited. So we need to be very aware of the foods which are commonly adulterated and the adulterants which are commonly used to adulterate the food. So we have an option of DART book, which is a very, very easy, handy method of detecting adulteration with qualitative or rapid tests which can be very easily performed at home. For instance, if you want to check for the presence of water in milk, a very simple drop test can be performed at home. You can actually trickle a spoon of milk over a platter or over a saucer, and you would find that the speed with which the milk flows will talk about indirectly the quality of the milk. Supposing there are some additives such as starch or formaldehyde which is added to the milk, in that case also we find that the viscosity of the milk changes. There is sediment which is apparent at times when you keep the milk in two separate glasses or beakers. So very simple basic tests are put forward with the help of DART, which is another resource which is being used by most people today. There's another problem which we are talking about today is the massive cause of obesity and overweight amongst children. According to statistics, about 40% or 30% students in this country who are school going are suffering from obesity. And that is because of simply wrong selection and consumption of foods, for which there is a huge concern. And that is why we need to understand what best can be done. So SNF at School is another very popular initiative which propagates the need and consumption of safe and nutritious food at school. We believe that children are very powerful change agents and old habits die hard. So if we inculcate good and right eating practices early in life, they would have better lasting impressions on their brains, as well as they would make use of this particular information. Now, how does this particular project work? It helps at first creating what are called as health and wellness coordinators in every school. Now, these health and wellness coordinators build a team consisting of students, teachers, and caregivers, or probably caterers, or people who are serving food in the schools. What they do is they deliver strong messages around safe and nutritious food consumption as well as delivery. The teachers are requested and they are also building on curricular and co-curricular activities around that particular concept. And there are curricular changes which are also being worked on parallelly. Finally, it also ensures that you have a regulatory framework which promotes the sale and delivery of only nutritious and safe foods in the school canteens and the cafeteria. Use of mascots like Miss Sehat and Master Sehat has been very instrumental in having a lasting impression on the students, and the books have been created at two levels, level 1 and level 2, which are actually age appropriate. The target of school students which are inducted in this particular program are from ages 6 to 14, and we find that curricular and co-curricular engagement has had a very lasting and engaging impression on the minds of the students. The third resource is the Orange Book, and this is your guide to eating nutritious and safe food at workplace. We do find that employees are spending a lot of time at their workplaces, and they generally consume at least one or sometimes even more than one meal during their working hours. Therefore, it is realized that it should be a shared responsibility of not just the individual, but also the employer, employee, the caterer, and also the food handler to serve and to provide the right ecosystem to ensure that this food which is served and enjoyed and eaten amongst the colleagues is not only nutritious, but it is also safe for their consumption. This particular significance of food safety at the corporate cafeterias cannot be underestimated, because this is related to the economic development, not just of the country, but also the places of work. We find that it is very important to have the nutritious and safe food concept, because it generally helps in improving the health, well-being, and eventually the productivity of the employee. It is very important to invest in the health of the employees, because this significantly reduces the financial burden of the workplace, and that is how we find that the imperative cost on the healthcare also comes down, with absenteeism and low productivity also being looked after. This is a very sustainable solution, because ultimately human resources are what they make the company what it is. So that is why it helps in improving the profile and prestige of the company and the organization, and certainly inspires trust in the long term. I think all Indians love street food, and in fact, we have our hearts associated wherever there is tasty, palatable, enticing food served. But the challenge is that the food has to be absolutely clean, hygienic, and it should not lead to what are called as foodborne illnesses. India has a rich tradition of street food, and that is what is reflected in our local culture. They are very popular and will remain popular because they're easily available, they have wide variety, they are freshly prepared in front of the customer, and comparatively they have low prices. But often, as we know, that it is not served under the best of the conditions. So the other project, which is called as Project Clean Street Food, is one of the initiatives of the FSSAI, which has a 360-degree approach to food safety and healthy nutrition. It also provides training and capacity building of the street food vendors and ensures proper regulatory oversight over them under the FSSAI Act of 2006. So what are the objectives of Project Clean Street Food? It not only ensures health, hygiene and safety standard of street food vendors, but also the consumers. It is ensuring social and economic upliftment of the street vendor because it helps them to improve their image, because the product which they are selling would be better off, and that is why it will attract more consumers, and naturally it will lead to their economic upliftment. It also enhances the popularity of street food by transforming it into a global brand by itself. So this has a four-pronged approach where the infrastructure is being looked into. The upgradation of the infrastructure of the food streets is also facilitated through certain incentives, and there's recognition also given to those particular vendors who are abiding by these particular principles. It is very important to focus on safety and to develop safe eat-out places, which eventually could be also benchmarked for hygiene and safety practices, and this has to undergo through certain rigorous implementations. It also encourages the consumer and the locals to perhaps propagate the regional cuisines and to strategically get them and professionally manage them so that these can also generate a lot of local revenue as well as trade and also tourism. This will eventually enhance the popularity of the food streets by transforming them into global brand by itself and getting in the tourism as we were looking into. Another very popular initiative and also the focus on the strategy is to, in fact, look into how we can manage micronutrient deficiencies, which is one growing challenge in our country. In this regard, a food fortification research center, which is called as FFRC, has been launched in FSSAI and which is designated as a resource hub to promote fortified foods, specifically for all the staples, and thus ensure safe and wholesome food for all. The function of the FFRC is also to provide strategic information, technical assistance on standards, food safety and technology processes, premix and equipment procurement, as well as quality assurance and control for production of fortified foods. This particular initiative comes with the +F logo, which needs to be put on every commodity which is fortified. So the target is with cereals, which are wheat, rice. Salt is now being double fortified with iron as well as iodine, fats and oils, milk, etc., with the important micronutrients. IFSA, as we call it, is the Indian Food Sharing Alliance. This is a social initiative of the Food Safety Authority of India, and it helps solve India's problem of food wastage and hunger. This helps by integrating with various NGOs, organizations, and recovery agencies, because we produce enough food to feed all, But because of the post-harvest losses and wastages, we find that a lot of people go to bed without having a square meal also. This particular statistics reflects that about 1/3 of the world's food is wasted each year, and which equals to about 1.3 billion tons. Now, this is sufficient to feed about 700 million people who are hungry as we speak. We find that most of the perishables are lost before they even hit the streets or are available to the consumers. So if alone we can curtail the food wastages and the losses, we will be able to help a lot of people who do not get enough food to eat. The objectives of IFSA are very simple. It believes in caring by minimizing food wastage across the supply chain and by redistributing the food which is left over to the poor and the needy. That is how it alliances with the NGOs who take this leftover food and feed those people who have gone to bed without a meal. It is an awareness generation exercise where mobilization of people or generating awareness is done amongst the consumers to minimize the food wastage on their plate. It helps us to share and distribute surplus foods by connecting to the trained food recovery agencies with food chains. A lot of food which is produced is sometimes wasted because it is nearing the deadline for the best before date. And just before that, if this can be handed over through these particular agencies, it can certainly be distributed to a lot of people who deserve to have that particular meal. It helps in preparation. That means it educates the food businesses to adopt best practices and encourage them to adopt the same in order to prevent food losses along the supply chain. Declaration is important because it provides strategic policy, regulatory framework, and program support for food loss and waste reduction initiatives. The Eat Right movement is the umbrella for all the initiatives in the country which are launched by the FSSAI. It is built on two broad pillars which are eat healthy and eat safe. It aims at engaging with the consumers and the citizens and exciting them to become responsible citizens and adopt right eating practices, which are not only nutritious but also immensely important to improve their health and well-being. This is no doubt a collective effort and makes both the demand side as well as the supply side people engaged as key stakeholders. Swasth Bharat Yatra was one of the pan-India cyclothon under the Eat Right movement, where the primary aim was basically message the entire country to eat right and be healthy and look after the health, because that's the best wealth which one can acquaint itself or we can gather to lead a productive life. India being the youngest nation in the world, we have the huge responsibility to make sure that all those people under the age of 35 and even above lead a healthy and productive life. All the FSSAI initiatives converge with different stakeholders. So as you can see over there, that it's converging with some of the very important key government programs like Ayushman Bharat. We have Poshan Abhiyan Jan Andolan, under which you have all the safe and nutritious food verticals, be it home, school, hospital, eating out, or at workplace, are put into place. The other partners are in the civil society organizations, NGOs, and corporates. And in this case, we have it integrated with existing marketing channels. And there are specific implementation projects as well, which are looking at Eat Right movement and all the SNF initiatives of nutrition courses. So safe and nutritious food at home, work, at school is the basis of the Eat Right movement. The Eat Right toolkit has some key messages. It again reiterates the fact that we must eat right, and for that, selecting healthy, nutritious food, which is also hygienically prepared, packaged, and served, is extremely important. So you must encourage people to select right foods, for instance, balanced diet. Avoid foods which happen to be rich in fat, sugar, and salt, as they are considered unhealthy, and they are the leading causes of non-communicable diseases like diabetes mellitus, overweight, obesity, cardiovascular disorders, etc. Eating safe would include good hygiene practices, good sanitation practices, safe food practices, and also to eat healthy food which is non-adulterated and absolutely safe for human consumption. The objectives of the Eat Right toolkit includes having a health and wellness coordinator center under the Ayushman Bharat platform, which is under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It serves as supplementary engagement resource which can be mainstreamed into national nutrition and public health programs. The Eat Right toolkit, which is basically on two pillars of eat healthy and eat safe. It delivers clear, precise, simple messages on eating healthy, well-balanced diets which are fortified, and also paying special emphasis to the nutrition during the first 1,000 days of the life of an infant. And foods which should be avoided are the ones which are high in fat, sugar, salt, and salt-containing foods. The Eat Right toolkit also contains a handbook and tools for the frontline health workers, and it also has an engaging material for all the citizens. FSSAI, which stands for Food Safety, Training and Certification, is one of the most successful programs of the FSSAI. It has covered almost 150,000 people who've been trained so far, and it is partnered with a number of training partners which are now training all over the country. This FSSAI program is divided into three parts, which is basic training, which can be given to the street food vendors or small-time caterers. You have advanced training, which includes manufacturing, storage, transportation, retail and distribution. And we also have special advanced training which is for specific sectors like milk and milk products, meat, fish and poultry, packaged drinking water, oils, bakery, etc. The FSSAI recommends that according to the rule, every food business operator should have at least one trained and certified food safety supervisor. It has about 17 types of competence-based certification programs, and the training partners could be organizations which have capacity for imparting training in food safety and are most welcome to join hands. It could be domain experts from academia, industry or professionals who can get associated with this particular training program, or perhaps anyone in food business. It could be a student, a food professional who can first get certified as food safety officer. Another initiative is called as Serve Safe, and this is dealing with the caterers. This is a hygiene rating scheme which is done online, which is absolutely objective, transparent, and it is a rating method by which the consumer would come to know when it is deciding a place to eat. It simply aims to allow consumers to make informed choices about the places where they can eat out, and through these choices, it helps in facilitating and encouraging business, improves and helps in improving their hygiene standards, and definitely improves in reducing the incidence of foodborne illnesses. The mandatory requirements of Serve Safe are: it should have qualified FBOs, need to have FSSAI license or registration, and must follow the Schedule 4 requirements, which is good hygiene practices. It also aims to ensure that the food which is being served to the consumers is of good quality and is absolutely safe for human consumption. it should train all food handlers and appoint a certified food safety supervisor. It must have food safety display boards prominently displayed in the premises and get food samples and water tested periodically. Enrolling in this hygiene rating scheme is very simple. It begins with logging in. There is a self-assessment pro forma which needs to be completed. It will generate and display the hygiene rating based on that. And finally, an inspection and validation is done by the FSO or the TPA. SNF at BHOG, which stands for Blissful Hygienic Offering to God, is an initiative that aims to ensure that the food served and sold in places of worship is safe and hygienic. Now, this is a very unique initiative which has been undertaken by the Food Safety Authority, and it ensures safety and hygienic preparation as well as dissemination of the bhog to the people who are coming to the temples or the places of worship. This particular program includes a bhog manual which provides basic guidelines and standard operating procedures to follow and implement all the requirements of Schedule 4 of the Food Safety and Standards Act of 2006. This particular initiative is quite popular and it is making a lot of difference to some very prominent places of worship like Siddhi Vinayak, which is in Mumbai, and it is as of now serving very hygienically prepared khichdi in retort pouches, and it has become very popular to the people who come to worship to these particular temples. RUCO. It simply means repurpose used cooking oil. This is another initiative of the FSSAI and which talks about the correct practices of cooking and frying oils. This is primarily collecting the used oil and repurposing it for the preparation of biodiesel. What are the objectives? Currently, the used cooking oil is either not discarded, sometimes it is sold off to the petty vendors, which is not the right practice because it is very unhygienic one, but primarily it is also not good for health if you're using reused oil for cooking food or refrying it. It is sometimes also disposed of in a manner which actually chokes the drains and the sewer systems. So under this initiative, 64 companies at 101 locations have been identified which enable the collection of the used cooking oil. Businesses which use more than 100 liters of oil for frying are supposed to maintain a stock register and ensure that used cooking oil is handed over to only registered collecting agencies. So ideally, the correct method of using cooking oil after frying is only once, but only in case where you need to, because oil is an expensive commodity, you can use it the second time, but this should be only used for making curries, etc. Consuming that particular oil in 2 days is the ideal way. Otherwise, again, rancidity of the oil, etc. takes place. So, repeated heating of vegetable oil leads to the formation of total polar compounds, and this has an adverse effect on the health. In order to safeguard public health, FSSAI has fixed that limit to 25%, beyond which the vegetable oil is unfit for human consumption. FSSAI is employing EEE strategy, which stands for education, enforcement, and ecosystem to ensure that the used cooking oil is discarded in an environment-friendly manner and does not enter the food supply chain. TPC is the measure of the quality of oil. The level of TPC increases every time the oil is reheated. Aaj se thoda kam is an initiative of the Food Safety Authority of India and focuses on reduction of high-fat, sugar and salt-containing foods. This does not include only the packaged and the processed foods, but also the popular snack food of our country like samosas, chole bhature, chow mein, etc., which are high in fat, salt content, and we need to bring down the amount of consumption of these particular commodities. Carbonated beverages are loaded with sugar, so that is why efforts are being made to bring down the total calorie or the sugar content of these particular beverages as well. And that is why we say that between fruit juices and fruits, it's nice to have fruit juices. Whole wheat flour is a better option than maida, and that is why we must cut down on all these particular foods which are leading to overweight and obesity in our country. Thank you. So let's check your knowledge on the initiatives which are launched by FSSAI. Let's see how much have you understood. So what should be the TPC, or the total polar count of oil as per FSSAI? Should it be 5%, 15%, 25% or 20%? The correct answer is the total polar compounds of a given oil should not exceed 25%. The key purpose of the FSSAI initiative is A. To bring about social and behavioral change among citizens around food safety, hygiene and healthy diets. B. To disseminate knowledge on safe and nutritious consumption of foods through community outreach. C. To create awareness amongst consumers to become healthy and smart citizens. D. All of the above. The correct answer is, as you must have understood, all of these above which are mentioned here. What is the full form of the DART book which is used? You already know that. But what is the purpose? Is it to detect contamination? Is it to detect adulteration? Both or none? The correct answer to detect adulteration through rapid test is detect adulteration. Next question. The role of health and wellness coordinator is to be number 1, the driving force to promoting a culture of safe and nutritious food in schools, messenger of safe and nutritious food to their school and drive various safe food initiatives, none of the above, all of the above. So the correct answer for the role of health and wellness coordinator is both A and B. Next question. Investing in the health of the employee helps in improving company's image, productivity, health and well-being of the employee, all of the above. The correct answer is all of the above. IFSA stands for the Indian Food Sharing Alliance, the Indian Food Saving Alliance, the Indian Food Sharing Agency, or the Indian Food Security Alliance. The correct answer is the Indian Food Sharing Alliance. Food Safety Authority of India recommends that all licensed food business operators must have at least 1 trained and certified food safety officer for every 25 food handlers in each premise, or 2 trained and certified food safety supervisors for every 25 food handlers. 3 trained certified food safety supervisors for every 25 food handlers. Or the last one, 5 trained and certified food safety supervisors for every 25 food handlers in their premise. The correct answer is A, 1 trained and certified food safety supervisor for every 25 food handlers in each premise. Consumption of healthy and safe diets is critical in the context of India, because we have a high burden of foodborne diseases. There is undernutrition and micronutrient deficiencies, growing incidence of obesity and non-communicable diseases, all of the above? The correct answer is all of the above. Thank you.